I'm going to just say a huge appreciation to Brett Benzio, who is our Director of Athletics at Walkers and is going to moderate this conversation. And Julie Wells, class of 2006, a professional international equestrian who has come straight from the stables in Florida and is with us. And to Sydney Satchel, class of 2010, also a member of our Athletics Hall of Fame committee. And she is on the U.S. sitting volleyball team. And she's come straight from practice. So we're right in the thick of women in sports. And without further ado, Brett, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Thank you, Marian. So hi, everyone. Brett Benzio. This is my first year as the Director of Athletics here at Walkers. And I think what's been really a pleasure for me is to getting to know the community and the students that we currently have and the faculty that are here. But through my work with the Hall of Fame, I've actually really enjoyed getting to hear the stories of alums and understanding what their experience was here, but even beyond, and how they continue to carry the spirit of what they established here at Walkers through their athletic careers or their time participating in things and beyond. So without further ado, I'm going to get to the two real people that you want to hear speaking. So I'm going to first go to Sid. Do you want to give a little blurb, and then Julie will go on over to you. So Sid.
Yeah. Hey, everybody. Hi. Greetings. My name is Sydney Satchel. Like they said, proud graduate of the best class to ever come through Walkers 2010. While I was there, played basketball, soccer, and lacrosse, was student body president, and had a lot of other opportunities to lead amongst my peers. Since then, I am an alum of Howard University in DC, graduated there, had a great time, and played lacrosse there, and had a situation between some ice and a tree one morning, January 15, 2015, which led me to make a decision to amputate. And because of the foundation in sport allowed an open avenue and a career in sitting volleyball that I've been with for the last 7 years, which is amazing. And definitely a pleasure to represent Paralympic sports all over the world. Yeah, I think I hit it, right? I did what it was supposed to do. Okay.
Awesome. And obviously we'll be getting deeper into her story as we go. So if you do have questions, and this will pertain to either or just general conversation, please feel free to put them in the chat. All right, Julie, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Julie Wells. I graduated class of 2006 from Bethel Walker, and then I went on and I graduated from Lynn University online, which took me a little longer than 4 years, but I did it because it was very important to me to have a business degree just in case anything were to happen. I really enjoyed my time at Walkers. I was head of dials, which I think made me find my voice a little bit. And I don't know if everyone is super happy about that, but it was a time that I'll never forget. Go Dials. And since being at Ethel Walker, I have traveled around the world with the horses a lot, working for another professional equestrian, Laura Kraut, who's represented the U.S. at 2 Olympic Games and has won a gold medal. And I've learned a lot from her. And she's now my biggest mentor, and I wouldn't change anything. So.
Great, yeah. Thank you. Just to reiterate before I start, I have some questions that I would like to pose to you, but if you as an audience have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat and we will leave some time at the end, but if it goes with the flow, we might pop your question in a little sooner. So my first question for both of you is, what motivates you to stay involved with, within your sport or your field? What has really motivated you to continue on?
I'll go. My motivation is knowing that what I received from sport and athletics. There are intangible skills that I've used in every part of my life that I want to keep growing and developing as a young 31-year-old, feeling very adultish in these years. It allows one for health benefits, great expression, and it's a community builder. There's nowhere that I can't go in the world where sports is not a community builder and a form of communication. So we don't even have to speak the same language or agree in, you know, religious beliefs or whatever. But when you put a ball on a court or on a field or you compete, that is a common respect and a common language that I just really enjoy, because it just, if I genuinely feel, especially at the national level, feel very connected to what's happening in the world because of sport. And I don't think I would have been able to even now have the worldview that I have. So I'm very grateful and will be, like some of you all, continuing in sport, you know, as the years continue.
Awesome. All right,
And-
Julie, same thing.
And I couldn't agree more with what you've said. You can travel anywhere in the country or the world, and because of you have like this little community, like being an Ethel Walker, like the equestrian community, you can go anywhere and you have so much in common with everyone, and people are super nice. You get to know different people, and you meet people that are from all over the world that support you, that you might just meet one time, but then 2 years later be like, hey, I know you. And you feel very at home, because there's places I've gone and I've been like, oh, I'm not going to know anyone or what's going to happen. But you always have your horses, your routine, and it is such a close-knit community. And I think because of the horses and the love for that, that's why I've stayed in the show jumping world, because without the horses, I don't know what I would do, to be honest, because they've been part of my life since I was little. And also, I think the competitiveness drives me every day to want to get better and keep training and see myself improve, as well as my teammates.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think so from my perspective, I play professionally abroad as well. And I think the big thing is, you said it, the world gets smaller and smaller the more you
definitely.
sport. And it's
Yeah.
like one of those things that, you know, you continue to see those relationships building. This becomes your community. And I think that's such a positive experience within the athletics, whether you stay in it. Now, thinking about that, coming back to your time at the Ethel Walker community in particular, was there a moment for you that you can remember saying, this is something that, or I want to stick with this level of competition, or I want to push myself further? Was there a moment for either of you that really felt like that you really instilled that level of thought?
Yes. Yeah. So I am a proud son. I just want to get that out there. You know, want to make some balance in the conversation. I don't know if Marion and Brett created this competition, you know what I mean? This friction. But no, I have major respect. But it was, I want to say it was junior year. I'm not sure, but we were at Miss Porter's, you know, a love relationship with them. But we were at Miss Porter's down the street. They had just built their new athletic center. And it was I think their like parents' weekend. So it was packed to the brim. And hilarious, Marion. And so the gym was packed. Our students and classmates, faculty and teachers came over. It felt like a state championships. Like, I mean, it's March Madness. It was basketball season. I think we were doing well with our season, and it got down to like the last seconds. And I don't think I've ever felt, even maybe I've only felt it 2 more times in my life, where this was real. You know, it felt like this was a pivotal moment. And it wasn't about us winning, thank you, Lord. But it was really the entire gym. And I think that moment was so pivotal for me because it was a team effort. There was nobody on our bench in the stands and who was on the court that wasn't in agreement or doing their best to make sure we put our best foot forward. And I think that really, I mean, drove and there's a point where I can point to at Walker's where I was like, this is the moment, because it was people who were just coming to support one person on our team was like in the stands, pom-poms, you know, even the faculty members and staff who were a little bit more introverted and mild were all in. And so it was just a really point where you get to see not just support for you or for, you know, our school, but it was a really I mean, I'm still talking about it, you know what I mean? So that is definitely one of those moments that felt more community aspect that really drove. And I continue to like look for those moments now. Mhm.
So with the equestrian community, it's more of like an individual sport, right? So during my time at Walkers, we did have like inter IEA shows, we called them, where we actually competed as a team. I didn't get to do it that much, but I do remember we went to one of the finals in Ohio and off we all went, and it was such a great atmosphere from like the lower level up to the higher level. You were there supporting and cheering on your teammate. And I have to say, like when I would go off to other competitions as an individual, and Linda Langmeyer was there at the time training me. I just remember going back after the weekend and going to Monday morning meetings and just listening to, like, we would have to get up and announce everyone's results and all that, but getting to listen to all the other team sports rattle off their results as well. It was a whole sense of community, and you were so proud of every girl at that school. So for me, it was like Monday morning meetings and Friday meetings that I remember that, and everyone cheering and the whole cafeteria just lighting up is really a memory I'll never forget.
Well, you'll be really thrilled to hear that our upper school IEA team is headed to nationals this year.
Oh, nice.
Very exciting news.
Yeah,
This
that's
weekend
super
was
exciting.
regionals. And so
Yeah.
very exciting news. And again, it's that like team aspect that you were just speaking to.
Yeah, because it's definitely hard in this sport to be a team, because it's you and your horse, and then you have like a certain team behind you between the grooms, the trainers, the farriers, the vets. And then there's not many opportunities to represent you and another team. So like I've been on a few Nations Cups for the US, and my boss does that a lot at the higher up level. And it's crazy how much you change just for that. You want that person to do well just as much as you. And it's crazy, just the different vibe. It's amazing.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
I agree.
Great. I'm going to take a shift here and go to an individual question. So Julie, you were just talking about the Nation Cup. I would love to hit it a little bit deeper on, as you've been traveling to compete, what have been some of the challenges and some of the joys of, going beyond the comfort of competing just in the US and going abroad to compete?
Well, like we said earlier, wherever you go, you have this little community with the horses, and getting to the experience to work and travel abroad. We were in the UK for a long time, based there, and we would travel over to mainland Europe to compete. And now we base in the Netherlands when we aren't in Florida. And getting to travel around with the horses, it's a different way over there than it is here. And getting those opportunities and learning different things is amazing. You get to learn from other older people who have been there in different times, and they tell you all their experiences, and you just can't even imagine it. But I was fortunate enough, 2 years ago, I could represent the United States on 2 Nations Cups teams. And I knew 2 of the people that were on the team, the other 2 people I didn't know. And we got to travel to Lisbon, Portugal, and Madrid, Spain. And we had so much fun. It was such a team bonding experience, and you couldn't even imagine it. We all like moved together with the horses. It's not just you. You also have your animal, the person that helps take care of it, and learning how to operate with just other people is crazy. So it was a very nice, fun time, and hopefully I get to do it again.
When is the decision for who's on that team come around? What's the timeline?
It all depends on your horsepower, really. And right now, the horses I have are a bit younger. So probably this year I won't be able to do it because my horses have to get more mileage and more experience. But we do have, as we know, the Paris is coming up, and hopefully the lady that I work for is, fingers crossed, as long as her horse stays sound and healthy, should hopefully be on the team. So as our little community, like our team that I work with every day, that's our goal right now.
Awesome. Mm-hmm. Great. Well, mentioning Paris, we're going to shift over to Sid here. With the Paralympics coming up this summer, Sid, what are some of the things you're looking forward to? What are some of the challenges as you're getting ready to navigate that experience?
Yeah, so I don't know how many have watched sitting volleyball or are, familiar with the Paralympics, but we are the twin sibling of the Olympics. Grateful that the Olympics, Paralympic and Olympic Committee recently, and it was Tokyo 2021 was the first year that the Paralympics got equal pay to the Olympians, which was extremely significant because I believe in Rio, the Paralympians got 7,000, but the Olympians got 30. So it was, very different. And so if you're ever looking to see how sport is complementary to the rest of the world, here's where you can see it. But for Paris, so like I said, there's 17 people on our national team. Only 12 get to compete in the Paralympics. And in Tokyo, I was on the team. And the glorious story is that I was an alternate for that games and didn't get to go. I mean, crushed, because as a team player, you're doing all the same things, your requirements, your expectations, you put as much sweat, if even or more, into it. And so Paris is like a dream come true. And that's what happened when I quit my perfect job at Berkshire up in Massachusetts, and I moved to Oklahoma and had no job, really didn't want to live with a roommate with a cat, but I sucked it up. I stayed in my room. And I made sure that it was, I pursued this dream. And so Paris is almost like the culmination of what my parents and family poured into me, my friends, Walkers, Howard, and now my teammates. And so building in a sport that, as a professional athlete doesn't necessarily get the accolades or the notoriety is one of those things where you're a professional athlete, but you're also a grassroots movement when we're talking about the Paralympics. So I'm excited because shout out to France and Paris and that committee, because they're really putting on their best foot forward for the athletes at the Paralympic level. So I'm excited. And hopefully we can have a big celebration back at Walker's in Centennial Center. You know what I'm saying? I will require red, white, blue, yellow, orange, red only. But no, I'm excited. And whatever happens this year, I'm just super proud of my teammates because they won gold in Rio. I was not a part of that success, but I was a part of the Tokyo Gold. And so in Paris, we're trying to three-peat it and be historic in that way, but also just being the best we can be is really important to us this year.
Awesome. That's so exciting. When do you actually head to Paris or to France, I guess?
Yeah, so we go like a week and a half before the actual game. So almost like mid-August. And then we acclimate there. Shout out to Team USA, who is allowing the Paralympic teams to come to their to Team USA like house. And then we're there for 2 straight weeks. The Paralympics is 2 weeks. For some sports, they're only there for 5 days. But the way our schedule is laid out, we play a day, we rest a day, we play a day, we rest a day. And so we're there for the full 2 weeks. So we get to go to, opening ceremonies and closing ceremonies. And I'm excited I feel like when I go, you hear my language, when I get that opportunity, I feel like I'm going to be representing so much. And I'm excited to be that representative for Walkers and so many other people that I feel like, have really, really aided into this success.
Sounds
that's so
exciting.
As we're looking at, so obviously the two of you are involved and you talked so much about how there was those moments that like shaped you to be able to stay in athletics long term. Who were some of your role models that may have been when you were, developing your sense and identity as an athlete, and who have continued to be those, mentors, role models in your life now beyond as you've stayed involved?
For me, it would have been when I was my time at Walkers, my mom was a big role model, and so was Linda Langmeyer. Linda got me to do things I never thought I would do while I was in my junior career, as you would say. and it helped open up other opportunities for me to go work for other riders above me who I always looked up to when I was younger. I would go watch them in their Grand Prix and all of that. And I was very fortunate enough to land a riding job with Laura Kraut, who is a US equestrian show jumping team member, and her partner, Nick Skelton, who won the gold individual show jumping for Great Britain in Rio. So between the two of them, they're like family now, and I always grew up watching them, and I couldn't imagine being anywhere else right now. And I get to still see Linda every day when I'm back in Florida, and getting to connect with her and seeing how her daughter has grown up and how Ethel Walker's back down here again. It's incredible.
And is it the last week down there for the Wellington?
Yeah, this is week 12. That's starting, but it never really stops. Like personally, I'm not competing myself this week. I'm waiting till next week and the week after, just because you have to make a plan for your horses and what suits you best. And for my good horse, it was not to jump this week and to keep going. I mean, there's always another show, there's always another competition, but you just have to have like the mental game to plan accordingly to get you where you want to be that year.
Yeah. For me, it's two people. I would not be the athlete that I am with right now without Dee Steffen. I owe that woman a great deal of my athletic success, because she took a zealous, kind of wild, aggressive athlete and toned her in, and she coached me in lacrosse. I became a third daughter, if you will, and she really helped me understand sport in a broader sense. And so and the way she advocated for her athletes added to the woman I am, the coach I am, because I hopefully can get back to coaching. We'll see. But to care about the athlete more than the sport, and really, really added to the teams that I follow today. It's really coach driven. And I honor her for that. And then my athlete, the athlete that I can't let go, the legendary, the stunning, the queen herself, Serena Williams. I mean, just a force to be reckoned with. Even in, I had the pleasure to see her play in New York, her last tournament. Everybody wanted her to win, but that first game, but it was like, we have this whole celebration. They had the lights, the presentation. They were about to send her off with her flowers, and she won 2 games. And it was like the most electric thing. I have never seen so many people from their gut, really rev up, and what she's been able to do through sport, and how she's been able to inspire and truly change the game is only what the greatest, athletes hope to do, with a humble heart, but yet an undeniable skill set. So she definitely has inspired me to be my best version. She was never chasing her sister. She wasn't chasing Billie Jean King. She was always trying to be the best version of herself, and that is highly respectable.
And I thank you for sharing about those role models. And I think sometimes when we look at female athletes, that's the one thing that it can be hard to find, right? Who are those role models? Who came before you that you can look at? And so for me, in my experience being here at Walkers, it's so much about connecting our current students with the history of Walkers, and that there were successful athletes here, like connecting those timelines so that our athletes can see that the history is very deep here in successful athletics. So I guess one thing that on that note, what are some of the misconceptions that you all have found through your trajectory of being involved in athletics as a woman beyond a space where it is all for women, right? Walkers is built for women to find success in all fields. How have you hit or seen those misconceptions out in the real world?
I'm ready. I'm ready for this one. This is it.
You got it.
With my bachelor's degree in sports management, and to see how the world still isn't ready for sport to be an actual career path for women is something that I personally see and deal with on a daily basis. I mean, the explosion in women's volleyball, collegiate volleyball, softball, basketball, that some of our NIL deals for our athletes, no matter if you like agree or not, are surpassing some WNBA salaries. I mean, the world just wasn't ready to make the realization that sport is an actual honorable career path for women that have inspired and empowered men to respect and recognize the value we put in this type of career path. And so another misconception is that our sports are boring. Sorry. It might be more technical. Come on. It might be more X's and O's.
So you'll get
But
me on board with that with basketball for sure.
I know.
Absolutely. I mean, I
Um,
a celebrity recently with March Madness going on that said the women's basketball game is more fun to watch because it's true to basketball. So continue.
True. Talk to me. But then you add in the more I won't say historic, but really foundational sports like swimming and tennis, and just being able to see like these are actual career paths. And so I just encourage us all to pour in, because there's so much that our community, our environments have been able to do because we poured into women without the restraints or expectation of this is just for a little while, you can have your fun and then get back to the real world. No, this is the real world, and this is the world that a lot of you have either poured into indirectly or directly. So I thank you for what we've been able to do and add to this conversation, particularly as Walkers has done for so many years.
Great. Thank you.
I totally agree with everything Sid said. I also think at Ethel Walker, I learned to find my voice a bit more, for sure. With the show jumping, it's a sport where men and women compete equally against each other as well. So it's not just an all women's sport. So as you start competing and getting into the higher levels, you do pull, there's also more men than women in the sport. So you start to pull for the other women that you are competing against. And if you can't win, you want them to win. And it's a really nice way of like, we can do it, girls, like, come on. And then when you start looking down, like the top ranked riders in the world, the women are starting to climb up again more and more, but it's also, you have to have the horsepower behind you. So finding those other teammates and your horses and wanting to get to the next level, you really have to look into the future. And it's not just you're going to do this for a little bit and then move on. It's a long-term goal as well. Yeah. So you're not just going to do it for 4 years and then give up. You're never going to do that. And especially when I love the horses, so you're not, and they're never going to go away.
Absolutely.
One thing I want to add, Brett, though, is it's not just that we don't think, that sport is an actual career path for women of all ages. I think the world is changing, because you can see Portland Thorns FC football club is the first to have a stadium, to have a set place for them to play. It's not a dual space. We see the WNBA, Las Vegas Aces, finally, Candace Parker, over 20 plus years in the game. And in the last 2 years, recently, that was her first time having her own locker room. I mean, Hall of Famer, at the college level, at the professional level. And we also continue to see the world changing and turning and creating more space, right? So the WNBA is advocating for more teams, right? And and so we get to see more. Oh yes, come on, hey Meg,
I was going to bring that up. She beat me to it, but the ice hockey league And I
Yes.
think that one of my favorite branding things that came out of that was the company that put their branding at the top so that they could put the women's names below their hair so they could see it. And it's like really prioritizing women having identity in that space. So
There we go. That I'm telling you, the world is paying attention, and I just encourage everyone to recognize that it's not necessarily just our plight anymore. It's seemingly the world is turning their heads, and so even let's think about when you'll see it when we start hitting that commercial time for Paralympics, and you'll see very much 50-50 in gender, not so much in the Paralympics. In the Olympics, we're still working, you know, we're okay in the journey. But you'll get to see even like more of my teammates now have sponsorships and endorsements through those companies, which is very unheard of at our level, particularly in our sport.
well, and to your point earlier, you brought up the NIL, and so this will get to a question eventually. But so as we think about it, typically you only saw endorsements going to male athletes because, to your point, there was a journey for them to pursue it as a career. Now that the NIL has access to college level athletes, we're seeing so much more being invested in girls and women's sports beyond that college because they can get to them at a touch point where it's actually seen that they're competing. And that's, I think, what's been able to broaden that professional level in all sports, soccer, hockey, basketball, you know, it's stretching. So on that, right, we're in this moment for women's athletics. We're bolstering in the broader community. What are some, I mean, we kind of already talked about it. What are some of those feelings that you're getting as someone that had support as a female athlete at Walkers, went into the world, kind of dealt with some of those misconceptions, and to see the support finally catching up to where you all have brought sport beyond your high school, college career? What are those feelings that you're now getting, seeing that support finally getting your due, essentially?
It's pretty cool to see how it's grown and gone on, and you get satisfaction of seeing someone in a completely different discipline do well and succeed on such a high level for the women sports. I think it's also such a tough mental game as well, and to try to represent yourself and your team, you have to be strong mentally and physically. And I don't know how that works with you, Sid. Do you have to, like, I kind of switched topics by accident, I'm sorry, but the mental side of it is also such a big factor in succeeding, don't you think?
100%. I mean, that's the biggest difference, right? So you see collegiate and professional teams have, you know, sports, they're counselors, therapists, like it's a need because the level of success, no matter gender or role, or it's exploding, right? When you have more opportunities to be at the world stage, the pressure builds, the expectation builds. And so absolutely, it's a mental game. And I can't tell my story without giving homage, honor to Jesus for being my like peace. And I think we all have something that we can lean on, right? When things don't go our way, when we need questions. And that has just been the thing that has revolution and changed my life. But Brett, to answer that first initial question, man, I could almost cry. And I'm so happy Julie went first, because it was about to, you know, I was, you know, I literally,
Gather yourself.
please, I am so happy you did, because there was a time where sports was the central focus of who I thought I was. It was senior year, my goals at Walkers were my big goal, sports wise, for Walkers was to be in and be asked to be in all of the all-star games for each season. Soccer, I knew was going to be the hardest, but that was the one I got to in the first 12 minutes of that game. Tore my ACL, MCL, and had tears on my meniscus. I mean, senior year, just a blow to the ego. And but to see how I thought sport ended there for me, and how it has continued to open doors for me, and to see how strategic my story has been, and to see, like, it's not even the young ones, but to see the vast expression of athletics would make me cry. My first time seeing the Centennial Center, I was filled with rage. I was angry, and I was also like thrilled, because if we had those resources, and I'm just not just sad because we didn't, I'm just actually more thrilled that Walker's got to a place where this exists now. And so I'm grateful as an alum to continue to give financially. And I know Marion's happy for me to say that as well. But I am seeing things that are important to me, right? Brett, you being there, having great vision is making some of that reality. And so I'm grateful to see that we didn't get stuck in the small gym. We didn't, you know what I mean, close ourselves in, but we're allowing us and our expression and who we are to really move and grow. So man, I could cry. I could. Brett, Marion had to, no, I forgot who it was. Clarissa, mind you, the gym. I'm passionate. I was back home. Who was Walker's playing? Taft or someone?
Oh, when you were back here in the fall?
Yes.
Yes, I believe
And if you could see me in our new space, here we go. You know, I told who was it? I told Marion, I like, hey, if you want me, I need some pom-poms, I need something, because I was just so excited that these students get to have these resources, and beyond sport, it puts value in who we are more than I think we can ever imagine. So yeah, I could cry. Ooh. All right. Next
Wow.
question.
So I'm glad that you guys are feeling those emotions, because
Ooh.
my next question is regarding if you could leave a message
Yeah.
for current students or families or anyone that's in where your shoes were when at Walker's, what would you say would be your greatest takeaway from these experiences, and even beyond Walker, what the takeaways had been that you would like to share to encourage continued engagement, investment with sport or an active lifestyle? What are those messages that you would like to give back?
I think for me, it'd be to never give up, because it's not an easy road and you can get super discouraged at times, but the more you fall, the more you learn from it. And I found that when you keep your head down and get to work every day and you put in that 100% effort, you get to where you want to be. And nothing happens overnight. And it does take a lot of hard work to get to where you want, is what I would say.
Perfect.
I love that. And my only I'm only going to piggyback. It's in the same vein. But something that I've been saying for a few years is celebrate your journey. Nobody knows what it took for you to get where you are. Nobody can tell that story better than you, which also means inevitably that nobody can celebrate the path or the steps or, you know, the yards, the miles that you have come from or arrived, if you will. So celebrate your journey in sport, out of sport, and recognize that if you were able to walk around the neighborhood, tell somebody maybe have a, extra scoop of ice cream tonight for dinner, whatever it is. Because being in sport and, like you said, Brett, having that active lifestyle changes your actual physical life, but it also changes your mental and emotional life. And so as much as you can, find those leagues, find that community. I keep telling my grandmother I'm about to sign her up for swimming because I'm not going to be the only athlete in this family. I refuse, and like the same that I want for my family, I want for the Walker's family to just remain and to celebrate that journey, because you are deserving and worth that celebration, especially when you're putting forth effort. So celebrate your journey.
That's amazing. I love that. And also but also add on to what we both said is you have to do what makes you happy as well. So you need to never give up and celebrate your journey. And if it makes you happy, keep going. But if it doesn't, then you have to change the path slightly. But you have to do, at the end of the day, happiness is what keeps you going too.
No, and I think that's such a fantastic point as well to make, Julie, because so many kids feel like they need to know what they want to do, what's going to make them happy as 18-year-olds, right?
Yeah.
And the realistic piece of that is it's going to change and you might find new things that make you happy. And so I think, Jen, I see you pointing at the screen.
No, that's good, because here's the part of my story that I probably love the most is the sports that I played was soccer, basketball, and lacrosse. Nowhere did you hear me say that I played volleyball. And so at 22, I had my accident. I thought, I don't know if Susan Ford's on here, but I thought I was just going to be in lacrosse world, love Jesus, and go home. You know what I mean? Like, that was the expectation. I just thought I was going to be an amazing coach and, help Howard. And that's really where I thought I was going to go. That's where my, like you said, 18-year-old expectation, 20-year-old expectation were. And I got in this car accident, and sport was in me, and, that competitive edge, or that teamwork, that collaboration, was still in me. And I was able to, again, find a career path in a sport that I had never played, a discipline, right? Because sitting is much different than standing or beach. But I was able, because of the foundation, literally try a new sport and be so successful at it that I joined the national team in 2019, but I started the sport in February 2016. So you're telling me it took 3 years come on, man, that's kind of wild, right?
Yeah.
And so when we talk about being able to pivot, that's what, athletic, or having that athletic lifestyle, will aid you in. It's like, hey, if you don't have a foot, which I don't, I'm an amputee. If you don't have a foot, we got something for you. If you don't got a hand, we got something for you. So,
and you had to go find what then made you happy in that situation, and look at you now. It's incredible.
Oh, too much, Julie.
No crying, no crying. The compliment.
I appreciate it.
It's amazing how all these there's still those through lines that from both of your stories, right? Resiliency, getting through something that you thought, should have just come to you. It didn't. How did you challenge yourself? How did you get through it? How did your community support you, right? There's all these trends that you see that, I think are the great messages. So I really appreciate you two for being extremely candid and answering these questions. I do want to open it up for questions. There's one that came in. So anyone else, if you have questions, please feel free to drop them into the chat. The one that I see is, can you speak to the role models and what current walkers should think about developing? So in my first year as athletic director, this is something that has come up. We are running our second annual Hall of Fame. It will be on reunion weekend, May 3rd. So if you are available, would love to have you join. We have our class announced. We're looking to develop a way for those, not just those athletes, but all of our former athletes can get in touch with our girls and build a relationship so that it's role models, right? You need to see someone have done what you do so that you can imagine yourself there. It's windows and mirrors. It's all just the principle of being able to see someone in a space that you want to be. And that's, I think, for all female empowerment, not just within athletics, but being able to see a woman having done what you want to do or in a field that you want to be in. So there is plans. Marion and I have already run through some thoughts on how we can build this community. So if that's something you would actually love to be involved with, please reach out to Marion or myself. We're trying to build kind of like a network of connections so that we can continue to do that. On that as well, we have Lena Springer, who is a alum. I can't remember her year, but she's just recently moved back to be the head softball coach at Trinity. She actually came back and spoke with our athletes this fall, and it was a tremendous experience. Class of 2013. Thank you. The girls loved it. They were like, we want more of this. And so I think the hunger is there for our current athletes. So the more you would like to be involved, please reach out. We would love to bring as many of you back to get in front of them as possible. So I hope
that sounds incredible, to be fair. And it's so nice to watch other students and people that you help go on and succeed. So for sure, count me in. I'm more than happy to help.
Awesome. Thank you. Anything else? Sid, you got something?
No, I was saying, I think you already signed me up. I don't know
Yes,
that
you're right.
yeah, I think you already did it.
All right, so next question. So both Julie and Sid, you referenced indirectly and directly the mental analytical aspect of sport. Can you say more?
Yeah.
I actually work with a sports psychologist for the past 2 years now. It's probably been one of the greatest things I've ever done. I never thought I would need to do that, to be fair, but it's changed my mentality greatly. It just makes you come back to, like, when I get on my horse and getting ready to warm up to go into the ring, it just make the things she talks to me about, it makes you come back to why you want to do this and go back to your goals and what you want to accomplish in that competition. And it makes you stronger mentally because you forget about everything else on the outside and you block out all the noises, the distractions, and it's such a busy world we live in these days, and you have to slow down at some point and focus on you and your horse, and that's the only thing that matters. And I've read a bunch of books about sports psychology and like golf and tennis and basketball, and it's crazy to think how similar everything is in every sport you play.
The mental aspect of any game is so transferable to, problems at home, issues at work, and how you can love thyself as well as love your neighbor. And what does it look like to spend time working on yourself? And that's what I honestly look at our mental wellness or health is, how do I talk to myself, right? Is there love there? And then what is the perspective or the lens that I use to communicate with, outside of me? And I know, it's not, I know that has made me a better woman. It has made me a better leader, made me a better minister. Makes me a better friend. It makes me better along the way because I'm taking that time to not just deal with me, but like care for me, For some people, it's getting their nails done. Some people, you need a
100%.
massage, you know what I'm saying? But we cannot leave out the fact that as much as we care about heart health and gut health and, collagen and, skin health, there's this big organ between our ears that needs your attention. And so there's not an age limit to it. It's not a gender. And sometimes, you may feel like it's too publicized, but the reality is that there's a big organ that needs some attention. And I think it has value in and beyond sport for sure.
And I find too, it's just little words that you change in what you say. Like before I go into a competition, we go and we call it walk the course. And so, the distances in between the jumps and the paths you're going to take. And I used to say to myself, don't do this, don't do that. And the first thing my friend said to me was, don't say don't. Just think about what you want to do. And it's kind of reflected now into everyday life with me. Like, don't is not even an option anymore. And it's helped me so much these past 2 years. And I say this to other students and other friends. And by just doing that, they're like, oh my goodness, it's changed me. So it's just little things that make it such a mental game, and just little tweaks here or there is what makes the difference.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Julie,
small change.
Your friend must have been my basketball coach, because that's actually a message I got is, if you're trying to coach someone, you don't say, don't do this.
Yeah.
You say, what do you explicitly want them to do? And it just frames it in a positive way.
Exactly.
That's, I think, a message that you don't hear enough, right? It's not
100%.
that you get the positive version, and it's a simple change, but it makes tremendous difference. That's absolutely.
Yeah, I agree.
Love that. Awesome. I have one more question. If no one, growth mindset. So.
Oh man.
Absolutely. So I have one question for both of you that just kind of came up with this. As my playing career ended before all the smart tech, all the technology, all the metric, the data gathering, but I love that. I am such a fascinated person by what humans are capable, and you can like crunch all the numbers. do either of you use any of the smart tech as you like train or anything like that to kind of monitor your workload or anything along those lines?
Not to monitor the workload. Our new director of sport at USA Volleyball is that same little, nerdy and analytical, if you will. And so when we were in Boston at the beginning of March, we wore these almost like vests under our jerseys that basically have a tracker in them that says, hey, this is your movement. You move better to this side. You favor this, very and so I'm sure we will be using those more and
Your
more.
future.
Yeah. Because I mean, if we want to be for real, when you win 2 gold medals, there has to be something else you need to work on, but you've worked on everything you knew. And that's one thing that technology really helps with. And the collaboration of our director of sport, as well as our head coach, to say, how can we get better? And technology is one of those things that just really helps us do so. And shout out to our statistician that is now full-time, because he'll pull up some film to show you, and it's really just a unique tool. And so even in technology, sport is about to go to a new height. There's so many regulations about sports shoes, how much bounce you can have, or how the cleats and how much, all the things, mouth guards, eye gear, all of it, sticks. Anyways, we can go forever, but yes, we do are initiating more technology into what we do.
We do it for the horses. Not me personally, but there are programs now that, like, when you put the saddle on, you put a girth around the stomach of the horse to hold the saddle on. They are making monitors to go in the girths now to track the internal side of the horses. And my friends are developing an app to help keep track of the horses better. Like, you just the way they walk, the way they trot, and just the way they land with their feet. So it is going to be a really cool app once it does come published. For the rider, not really, we don't really use that, but the past 5-10 years, people are starting to work out more, go to personal trainers, get stronger within themselves, and actually take care of themselves more as an athlete, which I think is great. And it's pretty cool that there is that technology. Like, we do have also the stats, like how many clear rounds you jump, or if you have a pull down, that's 4 faults. And you can look at it now over, if you talk about the horse as the athlete, about how their clear round percentages or what they do better. And there are some apps getting developed, which I think will be pretty cool once they come out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think we as humans want to recognize trends, patterns. And so all this data is something that I think will be really fascinating to watch.
Yeah. And, I think even, you see the more recording of games and breaking down film and being able to even if they're not looking to go to like, how can we get better, and being in that, I think somebody said in the chat, that growth mindset allows them to, when they get to the workplace and there is a critique, they're not, you know what I mean? They're used to not just the critique of, and taking that internal, but no, this is just a part of my process. This is a part of that journey and that development that, again, is not limited to sports, but it is helpful for performance and, job and education and healthy feedback. So technology is definitely a must where we're going.
Yeah, and like the same thing, like you said, everything's starting to get videotaped more and all that, so you can go back, you can look at it, but also you have to remember back to the whole mental side of it. You can't obsess about it. Like, you go back, you learn from it, and then you watch it, and then it's done. Like,
Let it go.
So you have to see the pros and cons of all of it, right?
Absolutely, for sure.
All right. Well, I want to say thank you both so much. This has been tremendous. I appreciate the conversation and the dialogue. And before I hand it back to Marian, I just wanted to say thank you to you both. So
this has been so much fun getting to know everyone.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
I want to thank all 3 of you, and the hour went so fast. I can't believe it. I really want to thank everyone who's present. And for those of you who don't know how to put all the pieces of these names together, I just want to tell you that on the themes of community and communication, here we are all participating in a conversation where we have Mira, our head of school. We have representation today from our board of trustees, our parent community, our alumni board, our athletics hall of fame committee,
Oh, wow.
students, faculty, and staff. And behind the name Ethel Walker is this broadcasting in the common room during the student and faculty lunchtime. So if that doesn't speak to what is a full, well-rounded community, I don't know what does. And we have representation across 6 decades of alums. So thank you all for paying attention to the programming we're putting together. And I just want to ask 3 things of you. Participate, continue to participate. We have one more virtual event coming on April 9th, which is an alumni author who's written a novel. It's her 7th or her 9th. It's a thriller, and she will be interviewed because it's a thriller. There's a crime. She'll be interviewed by another alum who's actually the deputy medical examiner in Washington, D.C. So that'll be a great conversation. That's in the evening on the 9th. I'd also like to ask you to connect with me if you have ideas for future topics, because our alum board works closely with us to do outreach and put these together. And we will have another series of 2 or 3 topics coming in the next school year. And we really want your input. As far as the Athletics Hall of Fame, nominate for next year, celebrate this year. Our ceremony will be on May 3rd at the start of reunion weekend, and you are going to receive a recording of today as well as an announcement of our 5 inductees, but I'm going to give you a little treat for being here. One of our inductees is present, Peggy Prizer Kenny, class of 63, so shout out to Peggy, and to our committee members who are here. Sid is one of them. And then the other way that you can support not only our programming, but the ongoing work that we do at Walkers for today's students is to give to the school, give to our annual fund. You know, if you want to talk about a specific gift for something you really care about, talk to us about that. But we rely on the participation of this community to keep the community growing. So thank you all for all you do. And I hope to see you soon.